Merry meet everyone. Darius here. Um, I thought about starting with some basic videos about, oh, well, these are the tools you're going to need, and this is how you do the basics, and this is how you do this, and this is how you do that, and A, that seems like information overload, and B, that seems like I'm trying to present a specific system, and I'm really not. So I decided to scrap that idea until, or I will do that eventually, I'm sure, just because I like being thorough, but until that I get that down, I'm going to just start asking questions and getting you thinking. I decided, well, what's the best way to talk to a beginner about how to begin? Um, I'm tempted to give the example, and I'm going to be giving a far more simpler method than this, so don't worry, don't panic. I'm not asking you to do this specifically, but as an example, when magical orders ask their students to go through their initial training, one of the things they'll have them do is practice having a blank mind and meditating. You actually stare into space and empty your mind and just be empty for a while, and you have to keep it for like a solid 5 minutes. Just keep your mind empty over and over and over again. Do that for a year. It's crazy. They really mean it when they say training. They retrain your brain to be able to handle a lot of the things that their practice entails. But one of the other practices that I find interesting that they ask you to do after you've done that is they have you stare at a tarot card. Each tarot card in the major arcana. One after the next, after the next, after the next. One a day, or one a week, depending on what order you join. Now, this is not something I've done. I'm not telling you to do it either. But they'd stare at the tarot card and just observe. And just for a solid 5 minutes. And once they're done staring, they would write down whatever was in their mind at the time, just whatever associate, not even trying to interpret it, not even trying to say, oh, well, this symbol must mean this. No, don't try to figure it out. Have a blank mind, and just write down whatever that card brings up in your mind. I think that's actually one of the best places for a beginner witch to start. Not with the whole tarot, not with blanking your mind and staring at it for 5 solid minutes. That's a little overwhelming for a beginner. Empty your mind of whatever you were doing that day and whatever, just take a few minutes and set all that aside and get into what you may end up regarding as your magical mindset, where you are getting ready to do something related to magic. And then pick a subject. What does the word deity mean to you? If your question is, I don't know, then start thinking on it. Really start thinking about it. Really start looking into that and working on that idea, that thought. I would encourage. I know I say a lot. I'm going to try and work that out, but until then, you'll just have to deal with me saying I would definitively encourage, and this is what this video is coming around to, widely and the long way, the elements. What does each element mean to you? Take an element. What is earth to you? Is it the ground outside your house? Is it what you dig your fingers into when you do garden soil? Is it the dust that accumulates on your furniture? Is it the flesh, the body, the physical? Is it an elemental realm you tap into? Is the spirit of earth related to a deity for you or a divine concept for you? Is earth crystal or metal, or what is it to you? What is it in your mind? What do you associate with that? And sit and write down and think and feel and really get into it. Do that for each of the elements. What's fire to you? Is it frightening? Is it destructive? Is it fascinating? Is it brilliant? Is it a chemical reaction? Is it a mystic gateway to vision? Is it, I mean, there's anything that comes to mind. Write it down. Find out what this means to you. Because what that means is earth wealth? Is water emotion? Is water a bummer for you? Do you hate rainy days? Is is fire sunlight? Is it brilliance? Is it the strength that gives life to the world? I mean, is it that volatile thing that causes explosions? What is air to you? Is it the wind? Is it your breath? Is it your words? Do you associate words and thoughts and communication with air? Or do you associate storms with air? That volatility. Some people think air is very volatile, and that is their feeling of it. Come into your understanding of what your craft will involve, what your craft will be based around. And a lot of witches start with the elements. I know I did. Before I was involved in in Wicca or in a system of any form of system of craft, I had my own system with the elements. And that was so much of my practice. I wanted to do water magic, I had a bowl of water, and I did stuff with it. And I worked it that way, in any whatever way was needed for that spell. And if I wanted to involve earth, I would have like rocks. And I would put them in certain places in the bowl of water, and I would move them around, and I would work with the energy. And that was how I was very energy sensitive. So that worked for me. If you're not energy sensitive, well, have them move based on what you think is logical. What symbol are you using, if any? Are you bringing stuff in? Are you moving clockwise? Which is, again, part of several witchcraft systems, but has worked for a long time. So a lot of people will recommend that to start as something that works, something that is already a pre-established energy pattern, discovered and refined by other witches. But yeah, sit down. Start with the elements. What does it mean to you? If your question is, I don't know, then stop and think. Breathe. Let it come to you. Don't force, just think, okay, what is earth? What is the image that comes to mind? If earth, a rock. Okay, a rock. If that's the image that pops into your mind with earth, a rock. A rock. Okay, dirt. Okay, worms in the dirt. Okay, well, we have a very clear matrix of definition here of the physical things you encounter that are the earth and in the ground and in the ground. If it's plants and trees and forests, well, that's a very distinct and different energy matrix that you have for defining earth, the element. What comes out of the earth, the ground, and what comes out of it as far as plant life goes. Some people define it that way. I sometimes do. Most of the time I discern between the earth and trees, because to me trees are a mix of the elements. They are the earth and the minerals of the earth and bark and wood and water that comes up through the sap, and the wind, the breath they intake, and the fire, the sunlight they absorb, photosynthesis. And so to me, trees are a symbolic of all four elements living in a very particular harmony that is very dependent upon the earth and the ground, not and the earth element, but just the ground in general. I also tend to draw that distinction. Not everyone does. Do you? It's a good thing to figure out. Do you draw that distinction, or are they the same thing for you? If you want your own practice, you have to start deciding, or maybe not deciding, but discovering what the elements mean to you. What is involved in your practice? What do you want involved in your practice? And what does it mean to you? How does it work? And that will lead you to how you will use it, and how you will utilize it, and what you will involve when you choose to work with a particular concept, energy, form, or idea. The elements, and there are two really good places to start. If you're religious, deities. If you're not, the elements. Try it. You'll be surprised with the results you get. So this has been Darius. I think this is a pretty good beginner video, just a recommendation. Let me know what you think. I will speak to you again when I get time to do another video, which may be soon, maybe not. I may do another one today, I might not. We'll see. Mary Part.